Good evening, dear esteemed viewers. So, once again, we're introducing a new video. It is called, it's about a topic called plagiarism. I know you have not yet heard of the term, but some of us have been doing this act called plagiarism. But unknowingly, you've we have been doing it unknowingly. And by the time we are going to get done, you know what plagiarism is, and you know what type of plagiarism you've been doing. So let's start straight away from our first slide here. We are saying plagiarism, of course, prepared by me, your presenter, Iwarikobi Ezekiel. You know, the definition of it, majorly, before we look at what I've put on the screen, plagiarism is the illegal or unintentional use or the use, and you'd call it, let me just say illegal use of someone's work, published work majorly, work which is published, but without the acknowledgement, without the permission of the person who published that work, the person who researched it, or the person who did it. So as you can see here, the definition says this is the intentional or negligent use of, or by the paraphrase or direct quotation of the published or unpublished work of another person without full and clear acknowledgement in all such scholarly work as essays, examinations, oral written reports, choreography, articles, all scholarly works that you can know. So that's a simple definition of it. Then we have the types of plagiarism. There are majorly four. We have direct plagiarism, self-plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, and accidental. So let's go one on one and know what they really mean. So direct plagiarism, as I've described for you here, it is a transcription of someone's work without attribution and without quotation marks. Deliberate. So this is just a deliberate. We can call it deliberate plagiarism. Simply, this is doing, quoting someone's work, using someone's work deliberately, you know it's for someone, but then you use it without giving them the credit. Like, as we have said here, without attribution and without quotation marks. Quotation marks, you put them when you're quoting something that it was quoted from somewhere. Maybe, let's say, we're talking about pregnancy, teenage pregnancies. You say teenage pregnancies are common in girls under the age of 14 or under the age of 15 by someone. So that is put into quotation marks, and you've attributed where that information is from. You say like it was quoted by, maybe let me say a journalist wrote that article. Let me say John something in 2020, and then you cite it. But the moment you write that work, you write it as if it's your own work, without quotations, without attribution, without citing it. Citing is a process of showing us a person who wrote the certain article, the certain line, the certain whatever research you're writing, and you show who wrote it and the time they have written it in. So major direct plagiarism is deliberate. You know what you're doing, but you don't cite and show where it is from. You're stealing work. Then self-plagiarism, this is measured in students who have, let me say, coursework, research work. So simply, it's when a student submits his or her own previous work that you've done before, maybe like an examination, a past paper, a past test, or you mix parts of the previous work without permission from professionals or lecturers. So you get work that you've already done before, that they have marked, that they have approved, and then you re-put it again without their permission, without informing them. So this is doing it illegally, or as I can say, you're cheating because you're using what you've already used and what has already been approved. So you've not formed anything new. You're just bringing back what you've had from the past. So an example here, as I've said, e.g., it is submitting the same work in different classes. You did the same thing in senior 1, you did the same thing in year 2, year 3, and you keep on repeating the same work. You just keep on changing something little. Then we go to the next, it's called mosaic plagiarism. Mosaic plagiarism is also majorly attributed with students. A student borrows a phrase from a source, maybe when he's doing his research, let me say like from an article or whatever source he's getting the information, like as explained in the sources of information that we have received before, majorly the secondary sources. So a student borrows a phrase from a source without using quotation marks. As I've said, quotation marks, you quote whatever you're wanting to use, and you refer to where it came from. You refer the source where it has come from. for reference so that whoever is looking at what you're saying easily goes there. Or you find synonyms for the author's language with the same structure. So this is altering the person's work, but it doesn't change the meaning. You just use another word, the synonyms, you just use another word to just replace the word used. Let me say you're talking about gender-based violence and someone used some terms, you're using another term to mean gender-based violence. Maybe let me say gendered violence. So you use the same thing, but it has the same meaning as what you've copied from some author. So that is mosaic plagiarism. You really know what you're doing, but you're just playing around with someone's work. And the other one is accidental plagiarism. As you can see from the word accidental, you don't know what accidental means. Accidental is something by mistake, unknowingly. Yeah. So this is when a person rejects to cite their sources or misquotes their source. Yes, you try to cite, but you misquote the source. You write, maybe let me say the person who wrote it was like, let me say Susan, from let me say like Bouquet the News, Bouquet the newspaper, but then you quote wrongly. You say maybe Mabel from Bouquet the News. That's what we call accidental plagiarism. You have cited, but you have put the wrong citation. You have put the wrong person to the work, or associating them like in the wrong year. You say yes, it is Susan. Yes, she's from Bouquet the News, but then you put a wrong year. She did the work in 2022, but you put a wrong year 2021. This is accidental plagiarism. You do something by mistake unknowingly, but still it is called plagiarism because this is not the actual work, because when we really go, it will not show Susan from 2019, it will show Susan from 2022. And how do we avoid plagiarism? Procrastination is, as we know it, it's a normal term we use. Procrastination is extending a program or something and you do it at a later time. So procrastination, you extend your work and then you get to do it at a later time with review, so that you review, so to avoid plagiarism you make sure you've cited, or maybe if you've cited, you make sure the citations are the ones you make sure you've quoted the work to that and referenced it. Then we check the citation errors. The citation errors, this is majorly to avoid the accidental plagiarism. Because as we have said, accidental plagiarism, yeah, you will accidental plagiarism, you're going to cite the work, but there will be a mistake. Let me say in the year, in the author's name, or in the author's, let me say workplace. Sometimes we put a workplace, yeah. So these citation errors, you have to go through them. You check those citation errors. You check, is the author the right one? Is the author's name correct? Is that the year? Is it cited well? Yeah. Depending on which citation you're using, maybe in text, whatever type you're using. Yeah. So